Hi everybody, my name is Emma Bayliss and I work at RDA National Office and I look after equine and competitions. Today we're going to have a look at the Countryside Challenge course with the help of Violet here, who's going to take us through all the obstacles.
This training day is for judges so that they know what they're looking for when they're watching a rider at each obstacle. It is also for sort of coaches and for riders to see where they can get the best marks from a judge. The Countryside Challenge is based on a walk in the country which was started sort of quite a few years ago. It includes all the elements that you get in everyday riding: dressage, show jumping, endurance, trek, and just basic sort of good learning. The course that you can see today was built entirely for things that we found on site. We didn't make or buy anything for this, just to show you that how easy it is to set up, and on the way round we will sort of give you more ideas of things that you could use. Okay. I'm standing by obstacle number 1. This is a very simple bending exercise. It's what everybody does in their groups all the time. You can use, at the moment we've got 5 obstacles. Normally on the course there would be 7, but because we don't have the space, it's perfectly okay to have 5 obstacles as long as it's an uneven number. What we're looking for is a nice active walk, bending throughout, keeping a good rhythm. The obstacles that you can see we've used today, they're an old milk churn with some flowers in, a garden gnome, a cone, a mushroom, a tree. You can use anything you want really, as long as they are safe and they are firmly attached to the ground. You can also use anything that you would normally have. Cones, you could just use 5 cones if you wanted to, or 7 cones. You will notice up there we've got some dressage markers. You could use those as well, as long as you've got 5 or 7 safe obstacles to go round. Right, we're here at obstacle number 2. This is the double arch, although it is not actually an arch for this championship. It consists of 2 sets of uprights, and we want to see the rider riding centrally through, and but keeping onto a curve. And they need to be looking for the centre of the next obstacle, which is the 2 white blocks, as you would if you're coming round on a show jumping course, looking for the centre of the jump. You can use, we have used 2 upright sort of jump stands. You could use bending poles, you could put sticks, in pots. And the clouds and the rainbows are really easy to make. This is obstacle number 3, the barrels. The idea of this is for the rider to be able to steer a good course round from the arches to the centre between the 2 blocks that we're using here. You could use anything you wanted. You could use cones, you could use small tubs of flowers, whatever you've got in mind. The objective is for the rider and the pony to come through between the 2 blocks in the centre and do a circle either to the right or the left. The judge will be looking and will be judging on the shape of the circle and the rhythm throughout. This is obstacle number 4, Laura's logs. As you can see, we have made it out of poles. You could use logs, you could sort of put some fancy branches along the side if you wanted to, but sort of using poles is perfectly okay. The size of the square in the middle will have to be big enough for a horse to halt with all 4 feet within the square. This is obstacle number 5, the maze. We have built this out of dressage boards with flowers at the ends to show the start and the finish. You could use half drain pipe. It's very cheap to buy, very easy to use, and you can cut it down to whatever size you want. The objective of this is for the horse and the rider to be able to walk centrally through the maze and to show sort of good, accurate turns and to keep up a good, active, rhythmical walk. This is obstacle number 6, the bridleway path. It consists of a bridle path sign, a pole, and riding towards the shrub markers. There are 3 options that you can do at this obstacle. If you're doing a walk-only course, you walk up to the bridle path, halt for 6 seconds, a dressage square halt for 6 seconds, and then walk over the pole towards the shrub markers. Option number 2 is if you trot, you go into trots, in transition into trot at the bridleway sign, trot over the pole showing a light seat, and then trot on towards the shrub markers. The third option is if you're an independent rider and you belong to a sort of level 2 show jumping group or above, we can put up a small jump for you. The jump has to be done in trot. This is obstacle number 7, shrub markers to the bridge. What we need to see here is the rider coming through centrally through the sort of shrub markers and sort of riding a good course to and over the bridge. We have used just big garden pots and sort of small trees inside here, anything, you know, as long as they're bold and you can see. As you're walking round to the bridge, we've used a sort of piece of Duralac fencing and with sort of some ends on each end. You do not have to, if you're short of space, you don't have to have the bridge as 2 sides to it. You can use the end of the school wall as the other side of the bridge. This is obstacle number 8, a 3-loop serpentine. I'm very aware that we're going to be, when you're short of space, you won't be a proper serpentine. But what the judge is looking for is to see the rider doing nice loops, even loops, around the 3 obstacles. That is the scarecrow, the sheep, and the pond. This is obstacle number 8, the riverside stretching walk. The aim of this obstacle is for the rider to walk centrally through a free walk on a long rein. The judge will be looking for the rider to lengthen the rein as they hit the track and to gather the reins up by the time that they leave the track. We have used sort of blue and white poles to make you think of water, but you could also use dressage boards, and you could also use drain pipe again. This is obstacle number 10, the railway crossing. The objective of this obstacle is for the rider to leave the free walk and halt in front of the gate. As you can see, we have used 2 jump wings with a lunge line over the top. If you want to use a gate, you can use a gate. That's absolutely fine. The rider will wait until the operative turns the sign to go, and then they will walk through the gate and over the railway lines. And now we're going to look at Violet being ridden round the course, showing you how she reacts at each obstacle.
That's a good start, and keeping up a nice regular pace throughout. Even round that one, which is most difficult of the obstacles to go round. This is obstacle number 2, the archway. The rider needs to walk centrally between the 2 sets of poles which are set on a slight curve, and to be seen to be looking for the centre between the 2 white blocks. We are now heading towards the log pile. The rider has to steer the horse over the first pole into the centre and halt, and remain at halt. What we are looking for is good transitions in and out. As you can see, the horse didn't remain still, so you would probably think about losing a mark here. We are now heading towards the maze. The rider has to walk centrally between the markers and show good turns throughout. We don't want to see a zigzag or cutting corners. The rider is now doing the bridle path sign in walk. This means that she will have to halt level with the bridle path sign and produce a good 6-second halt. The rider then will move on and ride centrally over the pole. We are now heading towards the shrub markers. We need to go centrally through the markers and make a good track towards the bridge. That was a nice route that the rider took towards the bridge. She now must ride centrally over the bridge. We are now walking towards the 3-loop serpentine. Although the area is very small, I'd like to see the rider sort of performing nice even loops around the obstacles and riding a straight line between each loop. We are now approaching the Riverside Walk. The rider needs to show a free walk on a long rein, starting at the beginning of the walk and having the reins gathered at the end. We are now approaching the gate and the railway crossing. The rider needs to halt before the gate when she is given the signal to stop. At the signal to go, the gate will be opened and the rider should walk centrally through the gate, thank the person at the gate and walk over the railway lines. When looking at how to judge and ride the course, it's important to remember how the marks for each obstacle can be broken down. For instance, the marks at the barrels would consist of A, showing a central approach, B, the shape of the circle, and C, maintaining an active walk throughout. Half marks can also be used for each obstacle. The leader must stay to the left of all the obstacles. If you have a side walker, they would be on the other side of the horse and are allowed to sort of go round the obstacles with the horse. Again, at the maze, the leader must stay outside the track, and also if a side walker would need to stay outside the track as well. The leader, and if you have a side walker, they must stay outside the track. Only the horse and the rider is allowed onto the track itself.
Enjoyed our video today and you've learnt something new about the Countryside Challenge. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop Sue Mack an email. She'll be happy to hear from you. Her email address is on the screen now.